that was like so hard to watch, and I
Yeah.
think I liked it for that.
And welcome to No Drama, Just Movies, and we are back this week with another movie review. Hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for the content we produce each and every week in the world of TV and movies. My name is Cameron, the king of something, Kelly Smith, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleague here.
What would that be? Um, I'm Phil, the man in the mirror, Corwin.
Oh, that's right. And of course, if you haven't guessed by now, but you would have based on the
Guessed it
title of
from
this
that.
video, we are here to review none other than Michael. Of course, this is the long anticipated and long awaited Michael Jackson biopic, obviously directed by the great Antoine Fuqua, and obviously, of course, starring maybe soon to be great Jaafar Jackson. Obviously, we'll have to see. But let's just, go straight into our thoughts, man. Hit me. What were your thoughts?
The more I think about it, the less I like it. It's one of those films, I think, where in the cinema, you're having a good time and everything is cool, and then there's people. I think we might mention that a little bit later as well. There's people who are enjoying themselves, and it's a cool experience. But then I think about it, and it's like, actually, I don't think I enjoyed it that much. So we'll get into the specifics, but overall, I'm quite disappointed, I think. Hot
Damn,
take.
man. Well, yeah, it's interesting because
Maybe.
mine is kind of the reverse. And I feel like since we saw it obviously last week, Thursday. We're recording here on a Tuesday. Since I saw it, I feel like I've enjoyed it more or grew more fond of it. But I think that also is part and parcel of the MJ fandom. I'm an MJ fan. I
Yes.
think seeing little
Yes.
clips that people have posted of parts of the movie as well and comparing it to real life, obviously, moments and showing real life clips. And I think, the thing is about this movie, right, is I think, yeah, if you're looking for a real deep dive into Michael Jackson, if you're looking for a real deep dive into his
Or
troubles, his
anything.
story, pretty much anything, yes, this is not that movie, right? And obviously, this is being produced and obviously heavily being orchestrated by the Jackson estate. And so that was kind of something we knew going in. But I think what does make this movie work for me is one, Jafar Jackson, because I think he's absolutely electric. And I think that he really works as Michael Jackson. Coleman Domingo, obviously incredible as Joe Jackson, as the dad. And
Mm.
obviously the relationship between Joe Jackson and Michael is pretty much the crux and heart of this story, and something that they actually were willing to delve deeper on and go and pull the curtain back on that. They were actually willing to do that far more than they were anything else. And the recreation of performances, the recreation of music
Mm.
videos, like that recreation of Thriller, I thought was amazing. Seeing,
Yes.
obviously, this is a spoiler review, but the way that the movie ends with him performing bad. Well, and then you have Human Nature, that him with the victory tour with the Jacksons. Like the recreation of it is amazing. It feels like you are in some ways in a concert experience, and that allowed me really and truly to enjoy the movie. Obviously, yeah, they only dip their toes into the things we want to see, right? Like in terms of the Pepsi commercial and obviously the burns
Mm.
to his scalp and the his insecurities regarding his appearance, the nose jobs, they touch upon it, and sometimes they touch upon it in really lovely ways, but it makes you want to see more. Like, for example, that scene when he gets his first nose job, he walks up the
Mm.
stairs, he's trying to hide from his dad. His dad takes his glasses off. That was a really tense scene, but they never delve further on that. Obviously, this is covering a certain period of Michael's life. And so we don't obviously clearly we don't go heavily into some of the lawsuits and child accusations and whatnot, but they only touch upon certain things, and it wasn't enough. I wish they did more, but I think I still enjoyed the movie, and so it was enough for me. But I think we also went in with those expectations because the final thing for me on that, we saw
Mm.
the MJ musical. I think it was last year or the year before last, one of those years. And I remember when we
Mm.
came out of that musical, like I remember us having a discussion where it was like that musical told you the blueprint of what to expect. I think in terms of what the Jackson estate were going to be willing to allow to be shown, like to a degree, even though we'll get onto that in a minute. But like you see that whole show that's obviously has a focal point, which I think would have helped this movie, where that biopic is, well, that musical show is centered around him preparing for his Dangerous tour. But once again, they really don't explore any of the deeper, darker stuff. But I think that was the blueprint for what we now see. But
Mm.
yeah, but go ahead, man. Any other thoughts?
I mean, yes, you touched on a lot of things that, and you praised them. Where I'm now going to say this is why I didn't like it. You mentioned, for example, the concert stuff, right? And it was, while it was good, it was only a recreation of something that already exists. Like, if I want to see concert stuff, I just go on YouTube and watch concert stuff, or buy a DVD, I guess, because I'm old-fashioned that way, it seems. But you know what I mean? It's nothing new. It's nothing that the film brings to the table.
Can I quickly answer that quickly?
Go.
Very quickly, because I had that thought going into the movie based on the early reviews that if this is
Mm.
just going to be recreations of performances, well, what do I need that for? I've got Spotify, I've got YouTube. But I had that thought going in. But once I actually went in and saw the performances, they did get me. They really did get me. But go ahead.
But was it the music? And this is why I'm souring on the film more and more, because there were bits like you said, they went through like the highlights or lowlights of his life. The strained relationship with his dad, the Pepsi commercial, the hair on fire, the nose job. They went like dump dump dump. We need to do the moonwalk in there. We need to do Thriller in there. We need to like all these hit these points, but they didn't actually like make something out of them. It wasn't more than that. You mentioned like the nose job scene with his dad where he comes home and he's got bandages over his nose. I liked parts of that. I liked the beginning of that scene where he like is reluctant to turn around and you can see like there's a tension there because I was like, oh my God, what's the father going to say when he sees him like that? Because this is the father who told him that his nose it looks shit, and that's why he did it. Like, is the father aware? Is the father going to be about him being the reason why he got this nose job? How aware is he going to be? How regretful is he going to be? What is this relationship going to be? You know what I mean? And then they don't do that. I think Coleman Domingo has like a little look, which I had no idea what that look meant, but he just looks at him and then goes into his room. I don't know what happened in real life, obviously, but that would have been an amazing chance to like have a scene between those two, between father and son. Like, why did you do that? Oh, I did it because you told me to, basically. And like really examine that relationship that they had and do more than just he's Common Domingo is the overbearing father. Michael Jackson is a little child, doesn't know what he wants to do, or doesn't know how to fight his dad, but wants to do his own thing. It felt a lot like they were just on the same level. Common Domingo as well. Like the performances were good, but it was very much I'm just this angry dad who won't let his son do his own thing. And Jafar Jackson, yeah, his voice was amazing. I think he got the voice down, but that's maybe a little bit easier. But he didn't have anything to do. Neither of the actors, I think, had anything to do to really show off what they could do, and that's I think down to the script and not being able to have those emotional moments between the characters. How much do we know about his relationship with the brothers? Or his
Yeah.
sister, or his mother? There's nothing happened. It was just, here's a song, enjoy the music. But I already know the music. The music's great, but Spotify exists. All these other outlets exist where I can see the music. And if you don't bring more than that in a biopic, if you don't tell me who that person is, then what am I watching this biopic for?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you hit the nail on the head, even with just your last sentence, if you don't tell me who this person
Mm.
is. And I think the thing is that we still don't know to this day, and it's now like, nearly 20 years after his death, we still don't know who Michael Jackson was. Not really, and I think, yeah, this movie would have been a great opportunity to explore that. As you said, I think there were missed opportunities in terms of showing the behind the scenes of this man, in terms of the relationship with his mother, his mother, with his mother and family, private conversations, things that really, even private conversations with other people, or moments in solitude, which I think would have helped. I remember we talked about, there's a autopsy show for here over in the UK. It
Mm,
was I think done on Channel 4 that came out, I think probably like nearly 10 years ago now, but it was a while back. But long story short, it documents the last, I think it's like 2 days of his life, and looks at his autopsy and basically combines the two to give you an idea with interviews on maybe things he was dealing with, things he was suffering with, obviously during his final tour. Obviously, this is long after when this movie is set. But
mm,
that show, the reason why it's so fascinating is that it actually gives you a bit more of an insight into what this person was dealing with and what could have been going on. And that's what makes it so interesting and fascinating. And yes, you would have much rather they do more of that in this movie. Obviously, you know, we'll touch upon it briefly, but obviously we now know this movie's doing incredibly well. It pretty much made 100 million domestically opening weekend. A sequel's on the way, right? Which we knew a part two was going to be coming. Obviously, I think quickly to touch upon, obviously, I can't remember if it was Variety or the Rap First that reported, obviously, that initially, obviously, the third act of this movie was meant to look very different, and how, of
yeah.
course, it was meant to delve heavily into the child accusations, specifically with one specific accusation, but they had shot that, they had pretty much had their movie, and then the Jackson estate realized that they had made a mistake in that the accuser way back when with Michael, they had essentially signed in their settlement that you was never going to be allowed to take any of this what happened here and show it in a TV show or movie, which the Jackson estate forgot about. And so they had to foot up their own money to do reshoots and obviously change the entire third act and the structure of the movie. So I guess it does make you think maybe what that movie could have been if that would have added anything to it, but I'm
Mm.
still not convinced. I'm still not convinced. Sure, it would have been interesting, but I'm still not convinced that even with that initial movie they had with the element of the child accusation in there, that they would have really delved into it in a way that actually would have added any more depth. I'm not convinced. And I think the movie that we have kind of gives you evidence to suggest that, well, how much would they have really delved into the impact that had on him? Um, and so, I mean, any thoughts on that?
If there is a second one, which I'm guessing if it's doing that well, there will be. Um, having seen this and kind of seeing where it ends, I thought that's a good spot to kind of leave it and then deal with all that darker stuff a little bit later, and go into like his I guess second part of his career, in with a second one. Um, I don't know if I needed it in this movie, because it was kind of more like a setup movie. Like, here's his family, and this is how his relationship with that, and him trying to get out of the Jackson Five and do his own thing, like a solo thing. And that was I was happy with it being that story. I think I don't think I needed to like suddenly this being about kids and accusations. Because yeah, those are two massive things to talk about and to explore. So it might have one would have taken away from the other, and surely.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree, man. I mean, I'm interested. I'm interested to see what part two looks like, what
Mm.
they're willing to delve into, if they what that period will be, if it will be literally covering from, I guess, the 90s up until I suppose the early 2000s, it would essentially be, right? Or maybe even up
Mm.
to his death. Obviously,
We'll have to, unless there's a third one,
right, I
unless
know, right?
the second one, the
I mean, and I
Michael
think that
trilogy.
period up to
Uh,
his death and around his death is also fascinating as well. Because, obviously the This Is It tour, his final tour, part of the reason why he did that
mm.
is because he was bankrupt from these lawsuits. And so I think there's a lot to explore there. But I mean, yeah, I think, look, I would say I would recommend to go and see it. I think it is something. I think the interesting part about this movie is always that it does spawn a lot of conversations, and I think those are interesting ones. And so I'd recommend to go and see it. But of course, yes, what the next song will be, I get it. I get it. I get it, man. I really do. I mean, any final thoughts before we give our scores?
Acting wise, I do want to shout out, I think, Giuliano Valdi, who played the young Michael Jackson. I thought he was really good,
He
and
was, yeah.
maybe even better than Jafar. I thought that like the early scene where he gets the first belting from his dad, and I think the only belting as well, from his dad, that was like so hard to watch, and I
Yeah.
think I liked it for that because
Mm.
the kid really fucking sells it.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I could feel the pain, like the scream was real.
Mm.
So yeah, I wanted more of those scenes, not necessarily like the, give me pain, give me suffering, but give me like something else, something other than the music. Give me like what shaped this um, person that we now see on
Yeah.
that we see on screen, and we think we know so much about from like the tabloids and his like probably later tabloid stuff. And yeah, I wanted to
Yeah.
know who this man is.
No, I agree. I agree. I mean, well, that will do it. It's now time for us to go to our IC review scores. I mean, I feel like I
This
feel
is
like we
good.
probably have to
Might
start
be
with yeah.
slightly spared.
I mean, I'm gonna start off with this one. Look, I'm kind of torn between how much I enjoyed the experience and what
Mm.
how good the movie actually is. And so for that, look, I'm gonna go with 7.5 ICs out of 10. All right, I'm gonna go with
Unbelievable.
7.5
No,
ICs out of 10. I
no.
was
I
thinking to
refuse.
go
I
with
veto
7.
this.
I was thinking to go with 7, right? But I think because in the moment I did really enjoy it. And so I think, yes, if you're looking at it from just a pure movie, it's probably a lower score. But you know what? Actually, no, I'm going to go with 7 ICs out of 10. I think that's fair. 7 ICs out of 10 is what I will give Michael.
Bring
How
it
much
right
will you
down.
give Michael? I mean, how much will you give Michael out of 10?
Which part did you enjoy? It was mainly the music, but again, the music is somewhere else as well. We haven't talked about like just the aftermath after the film finished in our cinema. We watched it in IMAX, and there's people dancing and singing along to like the end credits song. Like it was just magical, and like how much this man meant to so many people, I think, and his music meant to, and still does, even after whatever happened. So that is like worth celebrating. But again, Spotify, all that shit exists, right? You can go and have
Mm.
actual Michael. You don't need this film. This film is not needed. Um, so I was initially going with a 4, but now that you went with a 7, I might go with a 3.5 because I hate it even more after talking about it. I don't think this film should exist, and I hate that it makes so much effing money. Um, and that
It's the
people
king
are
of pop.
pushing it and getting, I think, getting the wrong idea from, oh, like getting the wrong thing out of it and thinking it's a good movie because it has good music. Uh, yeah, it's man yelling at clouds here, but you know what I mean. What did I say? 3. 3 out of 10
Three.
ICs
I mean, it's
from
the
me.
power of MJ. It is the power of MJ. And that will do it for our review of Michael. Once again, we are No Drama, Just Movies. Like, share, comment, drop down in the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts on Michael, what you thought worked, what you thought didn't, and what your anticipation is for a second movie. Once again, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and jump on board the community here at No Drama, Just Movies. Once again, my name is Cameron, the king of something, Kelly Smith, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleague here.
King of rock and roll. The king of I couldn't breathe. I'm Phil. I'll leave it at that. I'm Phil, man in the mirror, Corwin.
Oh, that's right. And that will do it once again from us. Once again, we are No Drama, Just Movies. Thank you very much for checking out our review today, guys. And we will see you very, very soon. Take care, guys.
Shimon! Give us your best, Michael.
There we go.